Call to order the regular meeting of the Ascension Parish Council, May the 19th, 2022. Would all rise for the invocation and pledge by Coach Thomas.
Let's bow our heads, please. Most Heavenly Father, as we come at this hour in the evening, we come, Lord, with praise. Come, Lord, to say thank you for the many blessings you bestowed upon us. We ask, Lord, that you guide this meeting. Bless this parish of Ascension. Bless all those that are under my voice. Bless their homes. Bless their children. Bless this parish once again. And Lord God, we thank you so much for being so good and so kind to each of us. And as we come tonight, Lord, we ask that you guide the meeting in the way you would have it to be. And Lord God, when we leave this place tonight, we ask, Lord, that you allow each of us to get home safe and sound to our families. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate that. Roll call, Madam Chair. Councilman Turner and Councilman Ojo are absent. All other members are present. On the chair's additions, I'm going to take a liberty. It just dawned on me this afternoon. It's not an agenda item, but I'm going to take a little privilege here. We're very close to hurricane season, June the 1st. So this is our last council meeting prior to the hurricane season starting. And I just wanted to kind of remind everybody, let's get the hurricane preparedness plans done, do your disaster supply list, get those checked off. And one thing we asked to do, and I spoke to the OEP office this afternoon, if you know of anybody who's special needs, handicapped or whatever, and they may need special help in any way, call the OEP office at 225-621-8360 and register that person. So then the authorities will be checking on them if they don't evacuate. If they evacuate, please notify them that they've been evacuated. But if they stay here, please make sure they're registered and they will be checked on during the disaster, okay? That's all. Under the public comment sign-in period, if you have a reason to speak in favor of or against any item on the agenda, fill out a green or red card with the secretary, turn it back into her, and you will be called to the microphone, to the podium when that agenda item comes up, okay? Item 5, presentations. Mr. President.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Council. So for May 2022, for this council meeting, we're going to declare a proclamation for Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'll go ahead and start reading that proclamation. Whereas this is a proven connection between good and mental health and overall personal health, and the mental illness affected almost every family in America. And people with mental illness make important contributions to our families and communities, and millions of adults and children are disabled by mental illness every year. And only 1 out of 2 people with serious form of mental illness seeks treatment for his or her mental illness. And stigma, as fear of discrimination, keep many people from benefiting from the mental health services from seeking help. And research shows that the most effective way to reduce stigma is through personal contact with someone with mental illness, or a good mental health is critical to the well-being of our families, communities, schools, and businesses. Greater public awareness about mental illness can change negative attitudes and behaviors towards people with mental illness. Therefore, I, Clint Quintmo, President of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2022 as Mental Health Awareness Month within the Parish of Ascension. Also, call upon all of our citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, schools to recommit to our community increasing awareness and understanding of mental illness, reducing the stigma and discrimination, and promoting appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental illness. So before I ask the Interim Director of Mental Health, Alicia Massey, to come up, I would like us to watch a little short video first.
As we go throughout this May, It's important the community recognizes it as Mental Health Awareness Month. After the last 2 years of ebbs and flows, many people are realizing that stress, isolation, and uncertainty have taken a toll on their well-being. It's time we get back to the basics and understand that it's okay not to be okay. And when that happens, help is available and resources are near right here in Ascension Parish. At ACC, we're dedicated to the well-being of our community and advocating for the pursuit of healthy minds. Mental health refers to our emotional and social well-being and impacts how we think, feel, and behave. It plays a role in connecting with others and many other aspects of daily life. It matters just as much as your physical health. It needs that attention. So if you're a current client, you're in need of help, call 450-1016 24 hours a day. And if you find yourself in a crisis, call 911.
Good.
Good deal. We would like Alicia Massey to come on up.
Good evening, everyone. I just would like to thank you all for the opportunity for us to proclaim May as Mental Health Awareness Month. As we noticed throughout the news and media coverage, mental health issues are on the rise. And it's so important that the community is aware of what we have right here in Ascension Parish. We have resources, we have qualified counselors available to assist with mental health issues. And this year, the theme for mental health awareness is back to the basics. So we're just stressing the importance of, now that things are opening up, people still need to be aware of the importance of maintaining their mental health, simply going back to the basics of incorporating just healthy coping skills in your daily routine, making sure you're doing self-care, checking on others, and also embracing speaking with a trusted individual when you're not having a good day. So I thank you all for this proclamation, and we are ready to serve the citizens of Ascension Parish.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And my team is here with me as well. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce him?
Absolutely. So, starting at the end of the row, that's Ms. Trinice Hills. She's a counselor. Then we have Mr. Mark Honey. He takes care of our security and other duties. We have Ms. Andrea Perkins. She's one of our clerical employees. Ms. LaJean Brown, she's a counselor. And Ms. Lisa Lopez, she's our wonderful nurse. That's my staff.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank y'all.
Chairman, maybe we can take a picture with the council so that we can make a posting to bring even more
Sure.
awareness.
Sure. They just come up here and we'll stay back here. Parish President. Okay. Coach. Coach Thomas,
President?
did you want to be?
Yeah, just wanted to speak on
Go ahead.
comment. I just like to, you all are leaving, just want to commend, I want to commend everybody. I just wanted to commend everybody. Thank you all for your hard work, and we very much appreciate the work that you all do, due to the fact that what we have gone through in the last 2 years, 3 years, the group of you all are very needed in our community, and continue doing the job that you're doing. And we very much appreciate it as a council and the president in itself doing the recognition. We thank you all very much, and do have a good night.
Thank you all. Okay, moving right along. Item 6, Parish President's Report. Mr. President.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Council. Would like to thank all of our Ascension Parish government staff, BASF, Shell, which we have many employees in the audience today, Volunteer Ascension, and many other volunteers who came out to the Lamar-Dixons last weekend to help run and make our hazardous household materials collection day a huge success. We saw 470 cars come through. We collected 101 5-gallon buckets of paint that was collected by Habitat for Humanity for reuse, 9,336 pounds of scrap metal, and 2,450 pounds of lead acid batteries. We will host this event again in fall of October 1st, 2022. We know how much of our residents appreciate this free service and how this helps keep Ascension beautiful. Let's see what we've got there. I'm excited to share some great news with everyone. We received our community rating system findings from the National Flood Insurance Program. With many thanks to our floodplain manager, Marcy Shivers, and all of our staff who made this possible, Ascension Parish has increased into a Class 7, which qualifies our residents for a 15% discount on flood insurance premiums for any policies issued or renewed on or after October 1st, 2022. May this also serve as an important reminder to all of our residents who do not already have flood insurance. The time is now to get this in place. It takes 30 days from flood insurance to become in effect, and we all know, unfortunately, hurricane season is right around the corner. So now I would like to invite Jared Bauer from All South Engineers to come up and give a brief recap of our Waterway debris removal project. Jared?
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, sir. Chair and Council, appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. So, as the President mentioned, I'm going to give you a recap on the waterway debris removal process, and I will be as brief as possible, so I'll try to run through these slides quickly. So I'll start just from the top. Again, just a refresher for everybody on the project team. Obviously, we have Ascension Parish government and the roles that they have played in this process, initially removing debris and continually assisting with the debris assessment process throughout the entire event and ongoing. We also had 3 main contracted services as part of this contract debris removal operation. There was the debris removal contractor, the on-site debris monitor, and the debris management and assessment team. Your contractor was DRC. The monitor was Thompson Consulting Services. Management assessment team consisted of ourselves, All South, with our subconsultant, ELOS. Just looking at totals to date for you all, that first big number there, miles cleared of imminent threat, 188 miles. That's a significant number, especially when you look at the next bullet point, which is 99.7 miles cleared by DRC through the contract effort. So that remaining 90 plus miles is an effort through either the parish and or, traveling, visibly seeing a cleared waterway and clearing that off the list. That is also significant because if you all recall, when I first approached you in October, I mentioned that we had 25.3 miles permitted of waterway to start working in. So compare that to today, you have 99.7 miles of permitted waterway that was cleared, worked in. Tremendous effort, just shows the progress that took place. In cubic yardage figures, that's 144,000 cubic yards and change. And you can see there on the graph kind of the arc of the project, where it started in December and how quickly it ramped up there in January and on through today. So expenditures to date from the debris removal operation, you're looking at $11.1 million. Of that, Bayou Manchac for the EBR portion of the project consists of $1.7 million for a total debris removal of $10.3 million through Ascension Parish. Debris monitoring company in the neighborhood of $667,000, and the management and assessment team at $360,000, of which that is $230,000 through assessment and permitting. Timeline, just to give everybody, kind of a recap here. IDA, obviously, August 29th. Right thereafter, in September, Ascension Parish government requested Waterway approval. The following month, in October, the debris removal contractor was selected. And then in December, that debris removal contractor began. So you ask kind of what happened in that period. Well, that first period from September to October was the authorization process. And again, from September through December, that waterway debris removal operation was constantly ongoing through the parish themselves. And don't forget, during that period, the right-of-way, the roadside debris removal operation was also constantly ongoing through the parish and DRC themselves as well. Also through that period, the assessment, the permitting, and the reimbursement process continued to bring us to where we are today in May, talking about closing that contract debris removal contractor. So looking forward, what will be happening is those APG crews will continue their debris removal process in select channels as those additional threats are identified. So you look at those numbers I mentioned earlier, kind of from an activity standpoint, you can again see really where the activity was. You see where they started in December, got their feet under them, got their equipment under them, and really how quickly it ramped up in January, and then kind of tailored down as we near the end of the project here. You look at that from a waterway standpoint, you can see the big few waterways that were initially tackled by Manchac, by Conway, Panama Canal, and the amount of debris that was in those waterways as compared to the additional ones there you see, which are those smaller lines to the right of the graph, Muddy Creek, Conway Spur, Welsh Gully, Heath Bayou, Anderson Canal, Babin Canal, and Cluot Ditch. So again, from a cubic yardage standpoint, just to kind of give you an idea, there's your numbers. Manchac really leading the way with 46,000 cubic yards, all the way down to Welsh Gully at 846 cubic yards. Just give you an idea of magnitude of where the debris was located. This again is that map many of you saw at the drainage meeting, kind of from an overall standpoint. The waterways highlighted in green represent those that have been cleared of imminent threat. There's a few small sections in yellow. Those represent areas that the parish is working in today. And then again in blue, just your general waterways throughout the parish. The way we kind of looked at this is from a basin standpoint and how to identify imminent threats. When you look at the Marvin Bro Basin itself, you can kind of see those waterways that are feeding the station. Those are cleared, right? And that was the focus of this, clearing those waterways. You look at it from the Henderson Bayou perspective, again, those feeding the pump station, those that are draining that basin, again, cleared. From the Sorrento Basin standpoint, those that are draining that basin, again, cleared. And the Bluff Swamp standpoint, Frog and Fish Bayou, cleared. So your major basins and those major tributaries that drain those basins, that was the focus of this, clearing those major threats. So again, just to kind of bring you back, these are those initial figures I showed you all way back when in October. Those yellow dots represented debris blockages identified at that point. So just magnitude in Manchac, magnitude in Conway, magnitude in Welsh Gully, Panama Canal, Anderson Canal, Heath Bayou. So just that magnitude, right? That's what I'm trying to show here. You look at Lamar Dixon, the temporary reduction site there. This picture is of the East Baton Rouge pile at Lamar Dixon. So keep that in the back of your head. This is the Ascension Parish pile, right? Just to talk kind of total magnitude of the disaster, right? And if you go out there today, what you will see is a completely cleared area. The contractor's in the process of grading that out now. Just a few pictures for everybody, Manchac, Conway. So I think this picture is important to touch on very briefly. I want to stress, if you go out there to these channels, you will see pictures like this today. So the waterway is clear, but there is potentially still trees on those bank lines off the bank, off the immediate bank. Again, the purpose of this project was to clear the immediate threat from the waterway. So you will still find down trees from Ida off the bank line that are not necessarily a threat to the waterway. So I want to make that clear. If you go to these waterways, you will still see that. That is not an indication of a tree that was missed. But that is what the waterway truly looks like, right? Conway Spur, Panama Canal. And now just touching next steps, where we're at today is right here, talking about closing the debris removal contractor down, having those Ascension Parish crews continue that operation, and ongoing reimbursement process, documentation, permitting, et cetera, that will continue as it was kind of throughout this process. So last slide here, just to hit on the highlights. Number one, the rapid mobilization and response, starting with Ascension Parish through DRC and all the way throughout. I think it's been a great response, really worked really hard to get those waterways cleared. and just timeline was really tremendous, kind of all the way around. It was not a 5-day-a-week project. It was not a 6-day. It really was a 7-day-a-week project, really kind of continuously working with these folks. This is a big item, and Councilman Lawler, I'll bring you back to this one if you recall. So early on when I brought this to you all to talk about accepting the initial contract, we had an opportunity to work with DPW and OEP. They went back to the contractor. They negotiated one line item in the contract down to a more reasonable price. It was the line item that everyone expected would get used the most, which was the waterway debris removal. We didn't know at the time what that would actually amount to, but now that the cubic yardage numbers are back, it amounts to a savings of over $2 million in the project. So that's a tremendous accomplishment for OEP and DPW. So hats off to them. Truly very large savings at the end of this project. Leading the waterway removal effort in the area, I can just tell you, so I'm aware of several other entities that are just now getting into this process, right? You all are on the tail end of this process. So again, just from that standpoint, what you've been able to provide for your residents is tremendous. Again, being on the tail end, going into hurricane season, that's a tremendous effort, tremendous accomplishment. The coordination effort, as you all know, with Bayou Manchac, the work with EBR, I mean, that was a day in, day out coordination, making sure the funding was there, the appropriate staffing was there. So just another excellent opportunity to coordinate with them, continue those relations going forward. And the last item here is the opportunity just to continue to refine the process for the next time, right? With everything, you learn a little bit, you improve a little bit, and you go the next round. I know we're talking with several parish departments now about SOPs and those things for the next disaster. Hopefully there is none, but you always want to be prepared, and this gave everyone that opportunity to really refine it for the next round. And that is it. So if there's any questions, I'll take them. Other than that, I'm
Any
happy to be a
questions,
part.
council members? Coach?
Aaron's got one, too.
Very good report, very clear. And my only question is the debris that's on the side of the ditch.
Yes.
That's leaning right on us. Are we have any intention of cleaning that up? Or that's,
So depending on that area, right, what we're doing now is we're working with parish crews to get work orders in, identify those locations, and go get that picked up as well.
because as we look at it, it's right next to the bank, and eventually it'll be in the water,
Yes.
supposedly, the way it's said. But good job, and it's very super job, Mr. President. Good.
Yep.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Chair. Just want to point out that that is not covered by the match. So that is something that we have to go back and do later at Ascension Parish government's cost. And our true priority number one is to get the channels clean.
Right.
Then we will start to take a look at the debris on the side of the banks and what threat they pose in the future,
Right.
and looking about removing those. So we're still in that process, and like I stated at the drainage meeting, we still have a little bit of ways to go to ensure that every channel is clean with our own personal crews. I do want to point out that we want to thank All South and Jared for working with us on this project, but I also want to thank Finance, because we did a lot of collaboration with Finance, looking at how much we could spend with the foresight to know that we got another hurricane season coming, and we're going to need some reserves in case we have another event. And so we just cannot bankrupt the general fund, because this is a reimbursement program. So we're going to be out that money until we're reimbursed. So we worked well with Finance to spend as much as we could, but still retain enough in case we have another event that we can go through this process again for the 2022 hurricane season.
Okay, thank you.
That's it,
Aaron,
Chair.
Lola?
Yes, sir. First of all, good job, Jared. I'm glad
Thank you.
to save that big $2 million. That's awesome. Kind of hit upon that, the reimbursement portion of it. Where do we stand on reimbursement? Are we going to get reimbursed for all this, 50%? Do we have any idea?
Right. Yep. So as the president said, it is reimbursement, right? So it is a 90-10 cost share. Majority of the waterway work specifically 90-10 cost share. So 10% would be your share. Of that 90, the process with FEMA right now is just what I mentioned, right? So we're submitting those to FEMA. Many of those have been submitted. These final waterways that kind of just ended are in that process, right, of getting tailored right now. We won't know that answer on how much you're going to get reimbursed, probably for several months, right? That's kind of the the going rate with FEMA right now. It's a long process right now, and things have changed a little bit, so they go actually to a different group. So it goes through a bunch of different hands before you hear that now.
Gotcha. And we're still monitoring all the debris that we see coming in? Is that part of this, is that part of the IDA still?
So there's not much debris coming in at this point, right? So the waterways are wrapped up, right? So there's a little bit just for those last couple of waterways, if that's what you're referring to. It's minimal at this point, but we are still monitoring it, right?
Good.
So the numbers I presented will increase slightly as that continues to ramp down, but the expectation from the contractor was next week that he would be out. So we'll hopefully hold to that, but weather permitting.
And I guess one other question, because we're talking about this. When we continue to do Bayou Man Shack, that is that also going to be dumped, continued at Lamar Dixon?
So that will be part of another project, I assume. That would be up to the time of that project as to where that might happen. I would say from a FEMA standpoint, if there was another hurricane, Lamar Dixon has been your go-to debris reduction site.
Yeah, we just have a terrible road right there that's in deplorable condition. I know I talked to Joey. We're going to improve the road and do it to a standard
Yes.
that it probably doesn't fall apart again.
Yes.
So I don't know where we are and getting ready to be able to fix that road. That's what I was asking.
So Joe and I just talked about that recently, but I would default to him to maybe give more details if that's a necessity.
It's not urgent right now. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilman Malonzo.
No, I had reimbursement question. I'm good.
Okay. Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd also like to, you mentioned it earlier, the trucks have been out on Saturdays and Sundays, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, we really need to touch also on the homeowners and the Camp Drive, Perkins Road. There was quite a few debris points that we had our pickup, and this has been a long process, but it was well worth it, and appreciate all your help.
Thank you.
Coach Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On another note, I'd like to just piggyback on Mr. President's report. I'd just like to give a shout out to the administration. Also, I'd like to thank you also for what you all have done and is doing. A shout out to the administration, Mr. President, on the things that we're having done on the West Bank in Donaldsonville in itself. I would just like to mention just some of the things that's going on along with the other things going on. We just had the job fair, which was good. Had the trash bash, which was good. We done the elevation, the emergency evacuation route on Lemonville Road that we just finished up. Mr. Turo done a super job. We also had the 50-year-old bridge along the jail that was done over also. And especially one of the biggest things that we have coming to the West Bank is the Early Childhood Development Center that initiate the parish, the school board, the library, and the sheriff initiating getting that going. Also, we have the tutorial program, Mr. President, that John and yourself has been going on, and with other help along with the limit center that's being done. We want to really appreciate the parish in itself for helping West Ascension along with Donaldsonville in itself. And the last thing I have is the Lala Field, that we have some funds that's coming to redo the Lala Field from the state along with Senator Price, Brass, Representative Brass, and also Speaker of the House, Clay Shakespeare. So we want to thank those for initiating and getting things going, and a lot more that's going on the West Bank, and I can greatly appreciate it. 2 years ago I wasn't saying this, but this year, coming this year, I'm very happy to know that things are going along, and look forward to doing a lot more. And thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
So I do want to say, and Jared can confirm this, through this process we learned a lot about some of our deficiencies on the West Bank with regulations, drainage, and tracking. So we'll be working closely with the West Ascension Drainage Board in the coming months to do some lateral adoption, as well as our new work order system, recording and actually looking at certain maintenance that we do, because that's part of the FEMA process. So it's critical that we get some of these places on the West Bank in place that we already have done on the East Bank. There was some lessons learned there when we started to look at that. That's why we had our crews mostly attend to a lot of the West Bank issues on the drainage. But we'd like to make sure that next time this happens or an event happens that we're able to have this 90-10 match and go right in with all of this stuff set up. So it was a big lesson learned on some of the things we need to get put in place with the West Ascension Drainage Board, and look forward to working with them in the coming months to do just that. Thank you, Chair.
Does that conclude your report, Mr. President?
It does. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, would you please read item 7, the consent agenda?
Approval of amendment to the Intellicom contract to add an additional $30,000 for the installation of IT infrastructure to support the relocation of multiple parish departments and for phone system migration to central server to satisfy the new requirements for 911. Approval of annual maintenance agreement to including mowing and litter pickup between the parish and DOTD for June 2022 through June 2023 for state roadways located within Ascension Parish at the state's expense. Approval of the renewal of the cooperative endeavor agreement with the LSU Ag Center to continue the 4-H youth development programs for a total contract amount of $50,000. Approval of the renewal of the security services contract at Lamar Dixon Expo Center with Merchant Security Services, Inc. to renew the contract for an additional year through June 16, 2023 for a not-to-exceed amount of $104,000. Approval of amendment number 1 to master contract Insight, Inc. for the replacement of arena lower seating to extend the substantial completion of the project through June 1st, 2022 due to supply delays and transportation issues. Approval of amendment number 1 to professional services contract Louisiana Claims Administration for additional funds of $22,900 to continue services through the end of the second year of the 3-year agreement. Total amount of contract $61,900. Approval of amendment number 2 to master contract for professional services, Tipton Associates, Parish Department Relocations, OEP, and Human Resources to extend the contract term through September 15, 2022. Approval of change order number 2, Geosport Lighting Systems, LLC, lighting replacement at Butch Gore, J. Leo Stevens, and Sandoval Parks for an additional 96 days due to equipment lighting control delays. Approval of certificate of substantial completion, Geosport Lighting Systems, LLC, lighting replacement at Butch Gore, J. Leo Stevens, and Sandoval Parks. Approval of change order number 2, Bob Bernhardt and Associates Mechanical for the jail HVAC upgrades Phase 1, requesting $52,336.72 for half the cost of the chiller rental and an additional 20 days to complete the job. Total contract amount $507,236.72. Approval of certificate of substantial completion, Bob Bernhardt and Associates Mechanical for jail HVAC upgrades Phase 1. Approval of change order number TO0501 asphaltic concrete pavement preservation project. Decreased contract amount by $3.05 for a total contract amount of $516,700.01. Approval of resolution 2021 Louisiana Audit Compliant Questionnaire. Be it resolved that the Council of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana hereby adopts the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire for the 2021 audit of the government of the Parish of Ascension. Be it further resolved that the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire be presented to auditors Falk and Winkler, said audit firm approved by the Ascension Parish Council and the State of Louisiana Legislative Auditor. Roads to be considered for acceptance into the parish maintenance system are as follows: Gateway Industrial Park, second filing, Terminal Court, 1,532 feet. Approval of certificate of substantial completion of task order number 5, asphaltic concrete pavement preservation project. Approval to add street lights on LA 938, Coontrap Road near Toby Street. Approval to rename Lawrence Bruley Road back to Rodrigue Road.
Does any council member wish to remove any item from the consent agenda for further discussion?
Yes, Mr.
Councilman.
Chairman. I would like to remove item 7Q.
Okay, that
Have
item
it.
will be moved to 8C
Yes.
under committee recommendations.
Thank you so
It'll be
much.
addressed later. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. Motion by Dow Wagaspack, second by Coach. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item 8A, committee recommendations. Approval of the proposed Home Rule Charter amendment to limit the terms of Ascension Parish Council members and the Ascension Parish President to 3 terms. Councilman Robert.
Everyone has an amendment in front of you. Before I read the amendment, we had some questions before the meeting whether it was legal to change certain parts of the charter, but legal has since then found out that that is not the case. That statute does not apply to us because we are not a police jury form of government. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and read the amendment. Beginning January 1st, 2024, no 3 consecutive 6-year terms may be served by Parish President or Parish Council. Qualifying terms are 2024 and after. Terms after 2024 would be 6-year terms. To be on ballot for November 2022 if deadline can be met. If not, then on ballot for October 2023. And, I'd like to propose that amendment
In the form of a motion?
in a form of a
Do
motion.
I have a
yes.
motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Second by Councilwoman Caso. Mr. Malonzo.
Yeah, so term limit, I mean, for the record, I think we have term limits every election. So my issue is the 6-year term limits. If, that's an 18-year. So I would be in favor of leaving the 4 and then capping it at 4 terms. That's a 16-year cap on the time that a council member or parish president can serve. I mean, a 6-year term is long. So I'll just throw it out there and see if anybody wants to bite on that.
Well, if I may, and I think we're bound by the Home Rule Charter, if I'm not wrong. Is that right, Kenneth?
That's correct.
To 4-year terms, and I think the state statute has some relevance there as well. So we may have to go to the ballot to change the term from 4 to 6 years, which would create another.
Yeah, it has to go to the ballot regardless.
Okay, well, that's not.
It's part of the, yeah, it's on the amendment. To be on ballot for November 2022 if deadline can be met. If not, then ballot for October 2023.
Okay, so that
Yes, sir.
converted from a 4-year term to a 6-year term.
That's the 4-year to a 6-year. That's what I'm proposing, yes.
Okay. Anything else, Chase?
Yes, I
And
would like to,
after, if I could speak to Chase after, just question.
yeah, I would like to offer an amendment for it to read beginning January 1st, 2024, no 4 consecutive 4-year terms may be served by parish president or parish council. Qualifying terms are 2024 and after. Oh, and in terms after 2024 will be 4-year terms. I would actually just eliminate the second line completely.
Just eliminate that.
So so Mr. Roberts, let me clean it up, I'm sorry. Beginning January 1st, 2024, no 4 consecutive 4-year terms may be served by parish president or parish council. Qualifying terms are 2024 and after. Strike through line 2 and leave line 3 as it remains for the ballot dates.
Now, if I may.
I'll second for discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion by, amended motion submitted by Councilman Malonzo, seconded by Councilwoman Caso. Councilman Robert.
I don't object to that, Chase, but on the same token, I still want to kind of discuss the 6-year a little bit. Between some of the council that I've talked to and the parish president, one of the reasonings behind the 6-year term, and the reasoning behind the 6-year term is the amount of time it takes to get things done, the amount of time it takes to have the projects, basically the amount of time it takes to get your feet wet in this parish government. I don't necessarily think this applies to all parishes. I think we're a little overwhelmed when we get here because there's just so much going on. So with that said, depending on what the rest of the council, whomever I can get any input from with the 6-year, would they also, or would y'all also be good with 4-4-year? If not, I'm definitely supporting Chase's motion.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Councilman Mason.
Yeah, I'm okay with the 4 years. 6 years just seems like a heck of a commitment. I think one of my buddies on the dais here actually said the same thing. 4 years is a lot, so 6 years is a whole lot. And I would actually like to strike the October 2023 because I think if people are going to be running for council, they need to know what they're running for. So if we put this on our ballot that we're going to be elected on, and the people may not know what they're kind of getting themselves into. So I would say we need to work to put it on the November 2022 ballot. And if not, then maybe it can be revisited after that election because I don't think it's fair for somebody to be running for council and not know if they're going to have a term limit or if they're going to be 4 or 6 years or something like that.
Well, the term limit doesn't apply. They're not applicable until 2024. If you look at, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I'm saying if we go for 4 or 6 years though, because if I'm running for council, I'd like to know how long.
We're
I'll
voting
be
for
there.
4 years.
So we're going to stick with 4 years then?
That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
I don't know.
Then I'm good with that then. Okay.
Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, I'll kind of mimic what Councilman Lawson said. We have term limits. Term limits are the voters. I put a lot of faith in voters to make the right decision. Term limits seem to tell me that we are not putting faith in voters to make the right decision. That's why I think it's a very undemocratic thing to tell somebody that you can't have the elected official that you want to have. That runs contrary to the democratic way of thinking. Small d. Overall, there are some thoughts that term limits are a good thing, but once again, this is taking power away from the citizens. We're telling them that you're not going to have the ability or the right to choose the person that you want to be represented by. So I really don't like the concept of taking that power away from the citizens. If somebody's not doing a good job, they can work to have them unelected. They can work to have somebody else win. This is, Ascension Parish is not like Congress. Congress has a tremendous advantage, or senators have a tremendous advantage on getting reelected. There's not the same advantage here in Ascension Parish and in most small elections that you would need term limits, and really I'm opposed to them just in general because it takes the power away from the people. That being said, and this is more of a question, do we have the ability to apply term limits to other elected officials in the parish? I'm just curious. Do you know? Maybe it's something we could look at.
I hadn't reviewed it, to be honest. I can review it and
get back with us on that. I say all that I'm against term limits. Just like when we've discussed other things in the past, I also believe that the voters deserve the right to vote on things. So I'm not opposed to sending this to the voters, but it is certainly my personal opinion that we're taking away the rights of voters to make decisions. And if we're going to look at changes to the charter, which is what this is, I think we should really look at changes to the entire charter, not just one little piece of it. There are a lot of things in our charter that I think we've all learned over the years that could be improved, that should be improved. And this, seems like an opportunity. If we're going to put something on the agenda, let's look at our entire charter. So what I'd like to see us do is, if we're going to do this, maybe revisit other changes in the charter and look into making some bigger changes that we may feel are necessary. Not taking this off of it, but looking at other things. Maybe in the next couple of months we can start doing that. If we have to, we can create another charter commission to look into it, because that charter was made a long time ago. Things have changed. We can do things better. I think this is an opportunity to do it. But I tell you what, 4 years is a long time. 6, it's a real long time. No, I'm not for that. But, yeah, I'm fine with putting it on the agenda, on the ballot.
Councilman Robert.
Aaron kind of used my rebuttal as his last statement because we're putting it to the people, putting it on the ballot. So you're right. You know, we're going to give them a chance to do it, but he already got me on that.
Any other discussion? Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, I would hope that philosophy goes to other charter changes too, though. Absolutely. And that's, you know, we did something in the past, and there was a fear to put it on the ballot. I disagree with that. I think we put things on there, give the public the opportunity to look at things and really, you know, to have that ability to vote on it. So that's part of the reason I think we need to look at our whole charter and look at our form of government and how we're doing things. And, you know, I believe give the people a chance to vote on it. I believe that on a lot of issues. I've said it many times that we don't have nearly enough money in our transportation department to do the things that we need to do to fix the roads, to maintain them. We need to give the public an opportunity to say, hey, are we going to fix this? And so I'm going to hope that philosophy continues through.
I'm open to explore any of those different aspects of the charter. You know,
Okay.
This is just taking the first bite out of the big project. So absolutely.
Sounds good.
Councilman Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be one of the first ones to say I was in favor of the 6-year terms. I'll be here 20 years at the end of this cycle, and, you know, it takes a while to get these projects up and running. Say what you want, there's a lot of projects out there that are going to be completed years after, you know, you leave here. I'm just with levee systems, building pumps, building roads, 4 years, you're learning. So whatever y'all want to do with quick learners, you better. It's 6 years. You could get yourself real seasoned, help your people, and do some good things for the parish. I'll leave it with that, but I would also, the parish president, I'd like to hear from him because his name's on here too, and to see how he feels.
Mr. President.
Thanks. So it's very difficult, obviously, because I don't know if we did any polling or anything else to decipher what the public wants, whether they want this or not. I don't know. I know we do have some term limits in Ascension Parish. The 4 to 6, you know, there's an argument both ways. There really is, and it's a long time, but sometimes government works slow, and it does take a long time. I'm not sure what the right answer is between 4 or 6, to be honest. I also agree with Councilman Lawler's argument. We have term limits. We have them every 4 years. I think there's probably some general questions and concerns when we start talking about term limits, about, you know, if a councilman falls sick or, you know, God forbid, passes away, and then someone steps in, does that count as their term? Does it not? You know, different little things that happen that maybe we need to talk about and clear up. I don't think is probably just as clean as you would think it would be, because things happen. So I would assume there would probably be a little bit more discussion on some of those things. You're talking about, if you go to 6, you're talking about not having our election on the same time as the governor every other time. But, you know, in 12 years it would be, but at 6 years it wouldn't. I don't know the circumstances or the challenges of that. I don't know. But those are questions I think that need to be answered. So I don't think it's just as clean as we all hope it would be. I think you probably need more discussion. I think if you start talking about a complete revision of the Home Rule Charter, I do not think we can get that done by the end of the year. I think that will be very rigorous conversation and debate over every aspect of that. Obviously, I have my opinions on how the Home Rule Charter should be changed, just as every one of you have. And so that is not an easy thing to get done by the end of this year. I don't know, we got some real, we're just coming out of big changes at the ULDC. That's a heck of an accomplishment for all of us, and we got one of those items on the agenda later. It's a huge accomplishment on 12 months of rigorous looking at, debate, and other things. I hate to rush something when we're talking about changing our form, our constitution, our form of government. We're going to need to do it in a very slow and methodical and cover all bases when you're talking about doing something like that. So that's my comment. I have no problem with letting the people vote on what they think about term limits. I have no problem with that. But I think there's valid arguments from every single aspect of what we discussed tonight. And so I'm in support of 3 6s or 4 4s. Either way, I really am. But also answer the argument that we have term limits every 4 years. So, but again, I think there's some underlying questions and language we need to really look at before we start pushing this through. Just some basic questions. So I would like to see it go back to strategic, and let's hopefully get a little bit more public input at that committee, as well as questions that the administration may have or you may have. Let's get those in order. This kind of came on us very quickly for a vote to change the home rule charter to this magnitude. I think we need to have a little more discussion about some of the underlying language and what the cause and effect of those would be. Thank you, Chair.
Councilman Robert.
After listening to, everyone speak and what Councilman Lambert brought up, I'd like to keep my initial motion, and I'd like to put the 6 year to a vote. I feel like the 6 years would be the way to go. As far as going back to strategic planning, I'd like to put it to a vote, the 6 year terms like we talked about, and we'll have the time between then and now to work out the legal aspects, work out everything we have to work out. And if it doesn't work out as far as that goes, putting it on the ballot, obviously we can't. So with that said, I'll keep my motion.
I have some amendments on the table, and I'm going to vote in those, but I'm going to also make a motion afterwards to defer. This has got way too many questions around, and certainly the proposal of a home rule charter. I'm going to tell you, I've done that twice. It's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time just to get it organized, and then to have all the input from various groups that would like to do so. So, Mr. President, I concur with your position that we have not fleshed this out sufficiently, and I think we have an opportunity to go back to strategic. I would ask Mr. Robert to bring it back, and let's work together to do something that really covers all the bases. When you start, we just can't keep going to the ballot every election cycle with some change to the home rule charter when that could be done cumulatively, and then a better education program around that could also take place for the public. So
you're offering that as a substitute motion?
I don't think I can. We already have two motions.
We have two, we
Yeah,
can't.
vote on
We've got to
Chase's
vote on the
first.
others, and then I'll offer
Okay.
that. Then that is my motion.
Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, I was just going to remind everybody that whoever wants term limits can say that they'll just term limit themselves. Sign on the paper now. We've got our first limit. Whoever really believes that term limits are the way can say right now, hey, you know what? I'm not going to serve more than 3 more terms after this, and we've got term limits. That's why it's a real personal decision there for the council and for the public. So I don't believe in term limits.
Councilman Wagspack.
Yeah, so I agree with Councilwoman Casso and the parish president. I think coming into this, it seemed simple, and then when we got here, it got changed from 4 to 6 and 4. So I think we changed it many times just in a short period of time. I'd also like to see what the public thinks about this, and I would certainly support a motion after we vote on the amended and the other two, if you want to defer it. I think that would be a good idea to look at all the details.
Madam Secretary, could you cue us in on what we will be voting on? We have a motion and a second.
Vote on Chase's amendment first.
Sorry.
I did want to point out, And we are voting on this. We're not voting to open up the whole home rule charter. That was a discussion, and as Councilman Lawler asked, I would be willing to sit down and look at that in the future. We're looking at one item, term limits, 6 years, period. So it's not that huge of a can of worms. Everybody's going to the election. I'm sure the public can decide if they don't want to, they don't have to go. Thank you.
Madam Secretary, the motion before the council for the vote is
It's beginning on January 1st, 2024. No 4 consecutive 4-year terms may be served by parish president or parish council. Qualifying terms are 2024 and after. Striking terms after 2024 would be 6-year terms. Struck that part, and leaving to be on the ballot for November 2022 if deadline can be met. If not, then ballot for October 2023.
with that motion. Is there any objection? We have an objection. Please open up the ballots. Okay, the nays have it. That motion failed. And what was the next motion, Madam Secretary?
It was Councilman Robert's original motion, original amended motion, beginning January 1st, 2024. No 3 consecutive 6-year terms may be served by parish president or parish council. Qualifying terms are 2024 and after. Terms after 2024 would be 6-year terms to be on the ballot for November 2022 if deadline can be met. If not, then ballot for October 2023.
Are there any objections to that motion?
Yes.
We do have objections, so would you open up the... And once again, the nays have it, so both motions fail. Is there any other business in regard to this?
I would like to move that this be returned to strategic planning for thorough evaluation and discussion.
I got a motion to defer it back to strategic planning, second by Councilman Lawler. Any discussion? Any objection? Got one objection, so open up the ballot, please. Councilman Robert objected. Oh, you said no? No objection? Okay. There being no objections, that motion carries. It will be referred back to strategic planning. Thank you all for some very lively discussion there. Item 8B, approval of name changes for former state highways 930 to Daigle, 929 west eastbound to Causey Road, Highway 929 north-south bound to Bro Road, and the new roundabout at Henry Road and Highway 930 to Panther Roundabout. Councilwoman Cazo.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we've had some issues around this. We would like to return this to the Transportation Committee and take a look at this a little more thoroughly too, please.
I'll second.
Motion by Terry to return this to Transportation, second by Councilman Lambert. Any discussion? Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, I would like to amend it after thinking about this a little bit and getting wiser. That we amend it to return it back to Transportation, but we keep the naming of the Panther Roundabout, because that doesn't affect anybody on that road. So we name Panther Roundabout, but we also return it back to Transportation, and that we ask the administration to help us have meetings with the affected public and send out letters to anybody that's going to be affected by this, not only notifying them of it, but we want to educate the public on how to get your addresses changed, how to do it, and even help some of the elderly in that area. Maybe we can have a meeting at Oak Grove Community Center where people can come and we can actually have people there to fill out paperwork for them to help them with that change of address in case they don't have access to a computer or they're elderly and it's just very difficult for them. Okay, so that's my motion. It's basically that
so we have a substitute motion to leave Henry Road, Highway 930 roundabout, changing it to Panther roundabout, and all the others we're going to refer back to transportation.
Yes, and with a request for the administration to arrange a meeting with, not only arrange a meeting with the public to help them understand the situation, but also to notify the public via a letter to every address that's impacted by this.
Okay, we have a motion as stated, second by Councilman Mason. Any discussion? Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Back to item 8C.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the same motion to refer this back to transportation, please.
I got a motion to defer item 8C back to transportation. Do I have a second?
This is a request from the transportation director. Joey, you wanna-
This is Q. It was
This is
Q
Q.
under
This
the
is
consent agenda, and it was pushed back to 8C.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Joel.
Got a motion by Terry, second by Joel. Any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to see what Joey has
Joey.
to say if we can, please.
Yeah, this, Mr. Turo asked me to make this referral back, so I'd like for him to explain.
Right. Mr. Bruley, which is the other party, has some other information that he brought to me, including some old documents from, his, great-great-grandpa, whatever, that is intriguing, and it shows just ownership in his family back in the day, and these are two pretty passionate families. They're not arguing type people, but they just have a history there. And I think, I know Mr. Bruley is hiring an attorney to just clean up the documentation of the properties and all in the area. There's stuff that's in our assessor's map that is just incorrect. There's people there that are deceased that are still, as far as the assessor map is concerned, they're still the owners. There's different people who pay the taxes on it and all that. So what Mr. Bruley is wanting to do is clean all that up, and then after that, maybe make a presentation back to the Transportation Committee.
Okay, with that explanation, we got a motion and a second. Mr. President.
Thank you, Chair. I did want to talk about something happened to me when I was visiting a property on J.D. Broussard. It was a name change in May of 2019, and I was unaware. A resident told me a name change, and I had to go back and look and find that. What threw me is that the assessor hadn't made the change. So we really need to talk in transportation about the process and procedure to ensure that when we do this, the other government agencies, 911, Sheriff's Department, Fire Department, Assessor, all have documentation that everything is changed and put, because some of these residents still have Bishop Wood addresses for where they were receiving their tax notices. So there seemed to be some confusion there. Talked with the assessor about it, and they're looking forward to working with us to clean it up. So I just wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Very good. Got a motion and a second. Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, I just had a question though, but I know the Rodriguez have been here several times. Ownership of the road it's a parish road, right?
Correct.
So we're just talking about the property around it. And it's my understanding it was originally Rodriguez and then it got changed to Bruley.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if not back in the day, it was not a Bruley, because the Bruleys have a presence way back, and the Rodriguez do also. So I think it'd be good to just go back and clean up maybe the history of the road and all that, because
I think we should just name it 929. No, I just feel bad. I didn't realize we were doing this one. That family has been here so many times, the Rodriguez.
I did talk to her again. I don't think she, yeah, but I did mention that to her, that, we're gonna let the research, happen.
But I mean, we've had this on multiple agendas, and why we have to wait until now for the other party to show up and.
I think, my opinion is sometimes we assume that people are informed because it was on a committee meeting. A lot of people don't pay attention to the committee meeters.
Tell us about it.
They just recently, were made aware of it, and that's when Mr. Bruley approached me, and he's got a lot of intriguing documentation that it might be good to let him do the research and get it straight, and maybe we can come up with a good solution for both families. I'm hoping.
Joey, Highway 42 was under construction for 8 years, and after it was done, I had people calling me asking if we could change it. I'm like, it's not even a parish project, so I know what you mean. I'd like to, is Ms. Rodrigue okay with this, working out? I mean, is this going to be Bruley Rodrigue maybe one day? Is she okay with this? Yeah.
I did think of that, of putting both names there, because I hate to these are.
This is a long way for her to drive all the time.
Right.
And, I mean, if we could find a solution like that, Bruley Rodrigue seems.
They're both good
Rodrigue
families
Bruley.
that have a good history there, and, I hate to, I certainly don't want to disrespect either one.
Yes. Ms. Rodrigue, I'd like to hear it from you.
Hello, I kind of forgot about the meeting today, but I just wanted to say that the only reason I brought it to the council is because the process wasn't done correctly with the signatures. If we had known, then we probably could have worked this out back in 2011, but nobody notified us that they were going to even change the name. And then when I found out, they said it wasn't nothing we can do, but you still got to follow whatever the law is, and I'm fine whatever way it is, but had we known, we could have objected then. Now I'm trying to go backwards to figure out. Now it's all interesting. I mean, if they had people there in the Civil War, that sounds good. We need a sign up there to make it historical or something, but if they own it before us, I don't know. I'm just going by the parish records, and it says that Mr. Bruley owns property up there, but it's on a different road. This J.C. Gornett, he's dead somewhere, but his name is still on roll. So we don't know. I couldn't contact them. All the stuff I sent came back from the post office, and his trailer, where he is now, is, according to the parish records, is on 2 properties. So he can't say he owns property over here and he's over there. It's just a big mess.
I understand. I guess
So
the property
that's-
ownership doesn't dictate the name of a road.
Right.
But,
That's what I said too.
yeah. But I just want to make sure, and I'm okay with it going back to transportation. I just
Yeah.
really feel bad for you and your daughter.
I
coming
appreciate
here
you
all the
talking
time.
up for me, but like I said, I grew up there till I was about 16. Then I went to the we moved and went to the high school, but we still pay property tax. The other owners I've contacted, they're still paying taxes. So if they're paying taxes on something they don't own, somebody needs to let them know that. I mean, it all needs to be rectified, and they're not paving the streets anymore. The sidewalks are not getting done.
This is going to end
And I
up.
think it's because families moved and died. It's just, it's a rural area, it's country, it's beautiful, but it needs to be worked out. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just saying, if we had been notified, it could have been fixed earlier. And now, I don't know. I don't even know the man. We've never even seen him.
Well, we'll send this
before.
back to transportation.
Yeah.
Like Council.
Or put 2
Collins.
signs up there. Give him his sign.
Well,
and
and
put our
it may
sign.
be.
That was the good
Bruley
idea.
Rodrigue 929 Road is
Yeah.
what I'm leaning towards right now.
Because we're
Make
still
everybody-
getting mail, we're still getting mail in Roderick Road, but the sign says Bruley Lane, so I don't even think the post office know. Amazon was delivering, couldn't find the road, so it's just a lot of
We will
confusion.
fix this well enough to make half the people happy.
I appreciate you there, I appreciate, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you,
y'all.
ma'am. Appreciate it. Councilwoman Campbell.
So it's pretty obvious that we have a procedural problem. Certainly that we're not notifying members of a community on a road that their road name's going to be changed, that we're doing this in small settings like committee meetings. So I still want to defer this all back to transportation and ask the chairman of transportation and the department chair, the department head of transportation for the parish to work out a real procedure that would protect us from stepping in it this bad. Okay. It's just not a good idea. It upsets folks. I don't blame them for being upset. and it's an unnecessary upset. So I would appreciate the rest of the council supporting a referral back to transportation.
I have a motion and a second. Coach?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify, this situation has been ongoing. I've talked to Ms. Rodriguez about this. It's been before I came on in 2020, and we've been dealing with it since. And it had come to this. Mr. Lawler, as Transportation Director, we appreciate your getting hands. But in a situation like this, in Modesto and in Lemonville, you got the names of families: Joshua Land, Caesar Land, Julian Land, in those areas. And as they, Rodriguez, Rodrake, Bruley, you got those people that's been there forever. And I would assume it got caught up in a situation where they was going in and coming out in naming it. So we get all of this straightened up. It took two years and a half to get it to where we are today. And I appreciate your patience very much.
That's the intent, Coach. We're trying to get it straight, okay?
So thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Law.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any objection? There being none, and item will be going back to Transportation Committee. I need to back up procedurally. Item 8B was the name change of all these Louisiana highways. I had a Mr. Tyrone Weems who had written a card requesting to speak. Would you like to speak still again, Mr. Weems? I apologize for that. You're in opposition to changing those names.
So, good evening. My name is Tyrone Weems. I'm a lifelong resident of Ascension Parish, actually Prairieville. I've lived there all my life, and I actually live on Highway 929 currently. Today, while I was at work, my wife sends me a screenshot of a Facebook post in reference to a meeting tonight in reference to a name change of 929. And so basically, this is my first time attending such a council meeting. And so I don't know how it goes, but I don't know if I ask questions and I get answers, but nobody, I know myself, my neighbors, my family that live in that area, we wasn't aware of this meeting. I don't know if it's a done deal. You guys have already voted on this and it's gonna happen, or could we come up here and oppose, or are you gonna give this to the citizens to give an opinion or vote on changing Highway 929 to a different name? But I'm concerned, have anybody thought about the repercussions of this? The cause and the effect, all the stuff that's gonna have to be changed for the residents. Driver license, that's a fee. Everything, your bills, your credit cards, everything changes is a fee. Who's gonna incur those fees? I mean, the residents? And what's the reason? What's the cause? And that's what I want to know, like, what's the cause?
Well, procedurally, what we've done, we've removed those name changes for consideration tonight. We have removed those name changes. Nothing's going to happen tonight.
Okay, great.
Those are going back to Transportation. That's what the motion included. So I guess be on the lookout, the website or whatever. If you want to attend a Transportation meeting and have a say-so, that would be the time to do that.
So moving forward, for my understanding.
Sure.
How are the citizens that's being affected by these changes, how are we supposed to be getting the information of such meetings to voice our opinion? Facebook?
Right. That was another item of discussion. Parish President, the administration, we're going to encourage them to work with the other agencies, the sheriff, the registrar of voters and everybody, and the assessor, to make sure that all of these are coordinated and it won't happen just one agency making the call and nobody else knowing anything about it.
Right.
We're going to try to work on a policy and a procedure to address those, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chair. We're going to go ahead and take a look at procedural, and we need to look at just more than just changing roads. Zoning obviously is an issue, but, and we put zoning signs for that. Maybe this is the appropriate time to put up a sign that says proposed name change, meeting date, and those type of things. So we're going to look at all avenues, even contacting the residents along the road so that they're prepared and have the, the opportunity to come out and speak as well. So we're going to give it to the Chairman of Transportation, go over what he believes point of contact, but certainly we could start with maybe a public sign being put up, talking about it and when the meeting date is in the meantime, and we'll go over procedure and looking to redefine that procedure.
Okay, Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mr. Weems, our next transportation meeting is June 7th. It's on a Tuesday, I think, every time. I think that's correct. So it should be June 7th, a Tuesday, starting at 6 o'clock.
Great.
Right here. Yep, right here.
Great.
So we invite you to come, and you can give me a call anytime. I'll talk to you about it. I think the president had a better idea than mailing things to everybody. For cost purposes, it's easier to put up a sign, probably.
Right.
So we'll probably lean towards that direction.
Right.
And I mean, that's, but I'll be happy to talk to you more about the reasoning behind it and some of the thoughts.
Great. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that, that if there was the situation to where it was going to change, that, people think about the repercussions
We do.
of this, And again, I think the whole everyone that's going to be affected, the families that's going to be affected, they need to be aware of this. And with all due respect, Mr. Wagerspack, I think you are you were the councilman over my ward, Ward 9. Is that correct?
Not, if you're on 929.
I think that's probably Michael.
Michael.
Yeah, I would hope that it's Mr. Aaron.
I'll
Because,
talk to you there.
No. I would hope,
Representative, I'd be glad to talk to you. It
I
doesn't
would
matter
actually
who I
hope that it's Mr. Aaron, because I appreciate the comments that you've been making tonight in reference to giving the citizens, or vice versa, taking, power from the citizens to be able to, chime in on things. So I really appreciate that. I don't have relationships with I don't know who the person is that actually represents my ward. I've never had a conversation with them. There's no campaigning going on anymore, unless the campaign is just going on where they're getting their votes from.
Mr. Williams, we appreciate your comments. You have a 3-minute limit. Thank you so much. Okay, moving right along. Item 9, general business. Item A, approval of industrial tax exemption, ITEP for Shell Chemical, LP. Kate MacArthur. Welcome, Kate. How are you?
All right. Tonight we have Shell Chemical looking to do a $1.4 billion expansion of their alpha olefin production line at their facility in Geismar. This project would create 12 new permanent jobs with an average salary of $85,000. Over the 30-year life, it would generate approximately $45 million for the parish, $39 million in property tax revenue, $6 million during construction. And they started a traffic impact study also, just to see how this could impact any traffic around that area.
Motion by Councilwoman Campbell, second by Councilman Robert. Any objection? There being none.
Chairman Cagnalotti, you have speakers on this item as well.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
I think you have speakers on this item as well.
Oh, yeah. Let me look through these. This is 9A and B. I'll just read the names because none of these people said they wanted to speak, but they did want to voice their approval. I represent, and they are present and do support it. Joe Wider, Jamie Harton, Adam Sondelier, is it Sondelier? Kelly Couture, and Angie Wydell? Okay. Sorry I butchered those names. I can't read the writing, but thank y'all for coming, and we did acknowledge it's on the record that you are in support.
I love seeing Mr. Cagnalotti butcher somebody's name.
You don't know what they've done to mine over the years, I can tell you that. Okay, so we got a motion and a second, and no objection. That motion carried. Item B, approval of industrial tax exemption, ITEP for MCC Methacrylates Americas, INC. Ms. MacArthur.
All right, so this project is a new project to the parish. It would be a $1.4 billion investment as well, and this is Mitsubishi Chemical looking to do a methyl methacrylate plant, which is MMA. It is an acrylic-based resin that's used in a lot of different industries that goes into paints, adhesives, glazes, lighting displays, and other items. The project would create 100 permanent new jobs with an annual average salary of $97,000. Over the 30-year life, it would generate $45 million estimated for the parish, property tax revenue of $39 million, and $6 million sales tax during construction.
Motion by Councilwoman Robert, second by Councilwoman Cazzo. And before we proceed, the same folks also voted approval of 9B. So, do I need to read their names again, Senator?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll hand you the cards. It's the same folks. Thank y'all for coming, voting, and showing your support. I have a motion and a second. Any objection?
Okay, I just wanted to. Did you say 1 billion?
1.4 billion.
Okay.
With a B.
With a B.
That's with a B, right?
Yes.
4,000 million.
Yeah. All right. Any further discussion? There being no objection, that motion carries. Item 9C, resolution to approve the use of outside legal counsel to provide specialized expertise in healthcare in negotiation with private healthcare providers for supplemental healthcare services to meet the needs of the citizens of Ascension Parish.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilwoman Cazzo to approve, second by Coach. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. 9D, approval of a contract with Keene Miller, Jennifer Jones Thomas to represent Ascension Parish in negotiation with private healthcare providers regarding healthcare needs in Ascension Parish pending Attorney General approval, not to exceed $49,900.
Motion.
Motion by Chase Melanson, second by Terry Cazzo. Any objection? There being none.
Yeah, we have.
I'm sorry, I didn't see the lights. Councilman Wagenspat.
Yeah, I'd just like to know more. I looked at the hourly rates. I mean, I guess I'd like to see more defined about, what is this contract going to do? What's the scope of work? I understand that they're being hired to look at a possible private-public partnership. But I guess, at what point, because I get questions, when these items pop up on the agenda, I get questions about how we're changing healthcare services. So, will we have a point where we're going to provide, what's our current state on how many employees, what services are available, what do we spend annually, and then what our desired state is? And I think that's important for the public to understand this change and understand the financials and the services around it. So that's kind of some of the things, and I mean, I don't know, I would defer to everyone else. Those hourly rates look really high, but regardless, I'd just like to see what the scope of work is around this conversion.
Mr. President, if you want me to, but John asked.
John was unable to make it tonight. He's working on a particular project for me, so Chairwoman Casso has been working very closely side by side with John, so I would like to defer to her for any answers,
So the purpose of this initial contract is to produce, and the scope is to produce a CEA that will, for the benefit of the parish, to engage with a private entity in a public-private partnership. The CEA has to come together, and then it will be worked through this body to ensure that it has all of the things that we want to see in this. But we need an initial draft to begin that process. So the scope is for them to create an initial CEA.
Okay, so, and that contract is enough for them to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
And what she'll then do, of course, all of this is pending approval of the rates. Let me explain, if I may, the rates.
Okay.
There are 12 attorneys in the state of Louisiana who are board certified to do healthcare law.
Okay.
And so when you only have 12, their rates are high. And that's just what they can command. It's very similar to our situation with utilities. We sought a waiver of what were expensive rates for our previous firm on utilities because of their expertise. And since we have so few available and two were conflicted, they were in other projects associated with the parish, so they could not serve in this capacity. We had to go outside of those two firms to a third. And that is when we found Jennifer Jones Thomas.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just wanted to know more about it. So I would assume that the things I asked are probably going to be part of
Yes.
that CEA moving forward.
As the CEA comes together, we'll do, as we've done in the past, some more discussion about the details.
Right. No, and I knew why you were doing it. It seemed vague, and I didn't know if it was 49, and then we'll come back and do 49.
Well, we may have to
it.
do some more.
No, I know you may,
the
but
rates are high.
I just wanted to know scope of work, what we were looking at. So.
Exactly. Right now, it's to produce that CEA.
Okay.
In its draft form, and then we'll begin to work on it. Do
All
you
right.
have any do I need to add anything else, Mr. President?
Did it
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Lawson.
Oh, yeah. Just to piggyback, Ms. Casso, is we're finally getting to a state in all realms of Ascension Parish government to where we're the ones given the initial draft for contract of anything. So I like this initial ask and draft is going to come from us, whoever the private company is. And at that point, we can do some negotiating via our legal representation. So I'm excited about this. We need to stop accepting contracts from everybody else and trying to put our spin on it. I want that original proposal to come from us.
Thank you. I agree.
I agree with that, Chase, and I've been talking to Patrick about it quite a bit. We've been working on vendor contracts rather than ours, and Mr. President agreed 100%. We need to put our contract out there, and they're going to work for us, so they need to do it on our terms, not theirs. So, all righty. So we had a motion and a second, and I said, any objections? None, and I approved it, I think, before we had speakers, but I'm going to do it again. That motion carries. Item 10, Planning and Zoning Recommendations. Zoning Review, IDPZ 2848.22, I'm going to call them. Lot 2 of Tall Timber Subdivision for Larry Campbell, located on the east side of LA 44, approximately 125 feet north of Rustling Oak Drive, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential, RM, to mixed use, MU2, to accept or deny. Recommendation of the Zoning Commission is to approve. I have 3 speakers.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make that motion to take P&Z's to accept the
Recommendation. Okay, I got a motion, second by Councilman Wagaspack, and the speakers are, we have 2 green cards, Mr. Larry Campbell. I'm sorry, first, the one objection, Naomi Miller, is it? Is Naomi Miller still here?
Nicholas Miller.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nicholas. I apologize, Nicholas, I can't read your handwriting. That looks like Naomi. Nicholas Miller, please come forward. We have to get these typed. Good evening.
I was just asking for some more experienced eyes to take a look at at this particular request, since a few of the P&Z commissioners were absent during this recommendation meeting, that may have been able to provide a little bit more senior insight as to what was being asked. This particular property is currently a home in the front of the neighborhood, with its direct access going onto Rustling Oak Drive, not onto the neighborhood street, not onto the Highway 44. And so I just wanted some eyes to look at this and see what it is being asked, that we're not going backwards with the changes that are being made by President and Ken and Keese with the ULDC, and that the parish is not being set up for applicants to be able to fall back on a spot zoning for one particular spot inside of a neighborhood, just to increase a property value or put the rest of the neighborhood at a disadvantage for unnecessary reasons. And so that's all I was asking, is for the council itself to take a look at what was going on there and use their expertise and their experience to see what they thought about it. Thank y'all.
Okay. Mr. Chair. Next speaker, we have 2 more speakers. Larry Campbell? Yes, sir. One at a time.
May I go first?
Sure. That's Aaron St. Pierre Campbell.
Thank you.
This is my father-in-law, Mr. Larry Campbell, and he had asked me to speak in regards to this. I'd like to address Mr. Miller, if I can, first. I think he made a statement that the structure is a home. If you were to go look on the outside of it, it's a brick structure. It is a commercial structure. If you've been inside of it, it does not have a kitchen. It does not have any of the things that you would see inside of a home. So if you haven't been in there, I think you could get confused. And I just don't want there to be any confusion about that if someone hasn't done their due diligence to even investigate inside the home. I think maybe some of you have maybe even been in there when it was the gift shop. So I just want to be clear about that. I'll just further add a little history. Mr. Larry and Miss Sandra bought the property in 1985. They built that structure. He built it in 1985 as well, a short time after purchase, and it was utilized as the gift shop until Miss Sandra became ill with pancreatic cancer, and she passed away in April of 2020. Mr. Larry wanted to sell the property. It was then that he became aware that the property was zoned residential, and they had not had any knowledge of this. I think back then notification was sort of in the paper, and if you didn't see it, you didn't see it. And so now that's an issue because it has a commercial structure on it. And so with working with the zoning, they sort of said a mixed use 2 would be most appropriate. It's along Highway 44. It has it's near other businesses like food establishments, convenience stores, things like that. We believe that it's congruous with the neighborhood, and so we'd ask for your favorable vote. Mr. Larry, if you want to say something.
Yeah, when I bought the land, it was commercial. Lot 1 and 2 was commercial lots, okay? And I built a commercial building for my wife for a gift shop. And there's no way it can be residential. There's no kitchen, no plumbing. I'd have to tear it down. There's no way to, it's a commercial building. It's just one open room with a bathroom in the back, you know, but it's not a residential place. There's no way.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank y'all. Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, I'd like to vouch for him. I went in that gift shop many times buying gifts and different things, so I would be, I'm in support of this, and I would appreciate the other councilman here to follow through.
Councilwoman Cazo.
Yes, thank you very much, Larry. I want to.
My wife did a gift shop for a lot of years.
Yeah, I want to extend my condolences on Miss Sandra's death. I did not know about that until you told me about it tonight. I too spent hours in her gift shop, and I really enjoyed her and the presence of that shop there. I was a resident of Tall Timbers on the back street in the 80s, and it is definitely, I can vouch, a commercial building. It does not have any kind of anything inside that would make it a residence. So, I too support his need to make it a mixed use too.
Councilman Mason.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that you were just changing it just so you could sell it. That's all you're changing the use for, is to be able to sell it? Is that what I understood?
That's correct.
Okay.
Because obviously.
Yeah. That's all I want to confirm. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Waller, you withdrew? Go ahead.
I don't think I.
Okay.
I was sorry.
Councilman Robert.
My only question, and you did answer it, is I wanted to reconfirm, this was commercial property and you bought this as commercial property?
Yes, I got the paperwork.
Thank you. Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
Very good. So did I get a motion?
Yes.
I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation of the zoning commission. Is there any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item 11, introduction of an ordinance. Introduction of an ordinance to levy millages on the 2022 Ascension Parish tax roll on all property subject to taxation by Ascension Parish government. I need a motion to introduce only, no second. Motion by Councilman Mason. Item B, introduction of an ordinance to amend the 2022 budget amendment number 4. Motion by Councilman Mason. Item C, introduction of an ordinance to update the transportation impact fee schedule based on the engineering record news construction cost index pursuant to the Code of Ordinances, Section 19-51B1B. Motion to introduce by Councilman Lambert. Item D, introduction of ordinance to delay the update to the transportation impact fee equation pursuant to Section 1951B2 to the year 2023. Motion by Councilman Lawler to introduce. Item 12, public hearings, ordinances, legal counsel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chair. Ordinance budget number 3. An ordinance to amend the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2022 operating capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on the 18th day of November 2021. Section 1, the Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2022 operating capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. Operating budget, Animal Services Fund, increase appropriation to Kara's House for additional payroll costs incurred while the animals were housed at Lamar Dixon. Expenditures and other financing uses, appropriations, Kara's House, $49,000. Juvenile Justice Program Fund, increase in St. Bernard Sheriff's contract to $250 per day. Funding for the remodeling and construction of tutoring center. Expenditures and other financing uses, probation and juvenile court, $97,500. Transfer out Juvenile Justice Construction Fund, $250,000. Parish Utilities of Ascension Fund 2021 CWEF grant, revenues and other financing sources, grants $38,500, expenditures and other financing uses, appropriations and grants, non-capital $38,500, capital budget, Juvenile Justice Construction Fund, remodeling and construction of tutoring center, revenues and other financing sources, transfer in Juvenile Justice Program Fund $250,000, expenditure and other financing sources, contract payment capital, $250,000, hazard mitigation grant fund, federal funding from FEMA for May serve, severe storms and flooding, and for Hurricane Ida, revenues and other financing sources, grant FEMA, hazard mitigation, May storm, $338,500, grant FEMA, hazard mitigation, Hurricane Ida, $2,235,500, expenditures and other financing uses, appropriations and grants capital, $2,574,000. This ordinance having been submitted to vote thereon was as follows.
Chair will entertain a motion to open public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Mason to open public hearing, second by Councilwoman Casso. Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Robert, second by Councilman Lawler. Motion to move the ordinance.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Lambert to move the ordinance, second by Councilman Lawler. Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. All right. Next is item D, reading of an ordinance to amend and add certain sections of the Unified Land Development Code, Appendix 4, Development Code, specifically add Section 17-4060, Traffic Impact Analysis. Kenneth?
Purpose, to add a section of Unified Land Development Code, Appendix 4, Development Code, specifically add Section 17-4060, Traffic Impact Analysis. Whereas the Parish of Ascension desires to transform the existing traffic impact analysis policy from Attachment A into an established codified subdivision regulation and amend the language and procedures for clarity and simplicity, and now therefore be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, the Unified Land Development Code be amended and supplemented as further described in Exhibit A attached here to and made a part hereof. Repeal all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith or hereby, or henceforth repeal severability. If any provision of this ordinance is held to be invalid, such invalidity shall not affect other provisions herein, which can be given effect but out the invalid provisions, and to this end, the provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable. Effective date, this ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilwoman Casso.
Second.
Motion by closed public hearing by Councilman Robert, second by Councilwoman Casso. Motion to move the ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, can I please take a moment to have everyone look at a proposed amendment? And the first thing I want to do before we even go much further into it is thank Councilman Lawson. I think everybody knows that there haven't been two people at more diverse ends of the spectrum in this area of law in Ascension Parish. And together, we sat down with first just the two of us, and then with Jerome and Ricky Compton and Sean Chereau and other engineers, and spent about 2 hours hashing out what we agreed was a very fair amendment that we could make to this. And I understand that it has the support of the administration. I do want to take the time to thank the president as well. Chase requested of him that we be allowed to attend that meeting with the engineers. He graciously afforded us the opportunity to do that, and for that I'm very pleased. Thank you, sir. And so this is the amendment I would like to offer. Do I have to read it all, Senator? I can't. Everybody has it in their hands. If you would like me to.
I'm sorry, Terry. I believe you do. Would you like me to read it?
If you would like, please do.
Do we need to vote on the amendment first?
What's that? We'll vote first on the amendment.
No,
but she's got to read it.
We'll read it first.
One after
She's
the
got to
other.
read it, and then we'll vote on it.
Okay.
And forgive me because I gotta do the strike throughs and the addition, so it might be. Section B1, a TIA shall be required for, we struck through any amendment to the official zoning map. Then it goes on to say all proposed subdivisions and any new development or redevelopment requiring a building permit. So a TIA shall be required for those. Capacity, section D3H, capacity analysis. Capacity analysis provide an indication of how well the study area sections. Well, actually, her amendment is only section D3H. She wants to scratch through all approaches and movements and add in the intersection LOS, and then scratch through the LOS of an intersection shall be the lowest LOS of any approach or movement of such intersections, e.g. one approach or movement is LOSD and another approach or movement is LOSE, then the overall intersection LOS shall be E, also striking through if the existing LOS of any approach leg is not LOSD or better, the resulting increase in delay for that approach leg cannot exceed 10 seconds. Where she's adding in the intersection, LOSD is not existing or the existing LOS cannot be achieved with improvements or mitigation, a description of impacts, constraints, mitigation measures analyzed, and results shall be provided. In section F1, she wants to strike through 3 where it says Ascension Parish has established 3 households, change that to 2, thresholds, change that to 2 thresholds for traffic impact analysis as indicated in table 174060.1. Section G2, striking through, trying to see where the sentence starts, I'm sorry.
I think it's the first one.
It's half of this whole sentence. Proposed development that is subject to the TIA requirements of the section shall be denied when the results of the required TIA demonstrate that the proposed development will overburden the existing roadway system by causing a reduction in services of affected roadways, striking through negatively impacts the safety of the roadway, or if any leg or other element within the proposed development area is below the adopted level of service. D, also striking through, or experiences an increase of delay greater than 10 seconds. Then section G2D, striking through, eliminate the potential for the proposed development by. It's changing all the numbers under that to be renumbered. Section G2I is adding in traffic signal timing and/or phasing adjustments with coordination and approval from the owner of the signal. And that's all of the amendments.
Councilwoman Cazo.
I want to make mention that some of this is just housekeeping recommended by the department because it was just things they found in it that were not appropriate. And so I agreed to have that as part of my amendment, and so did Councilman Lawson.
Okay. So what we have is item F, and I need a motion to adopt. We need to vote on the amendment. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Robert.
I just wanted to offer another amendment on this, and I want to keep it all the same, except in section G2. I'd like to leave the struck out part, the struck out black font. Just the struck out black font, everything else the same.
Is it all of the struck out black?
Just on section G2, where it says negatively impacts the safety of the roadway, or if any leg or other element within the proposed development area is below the adopted level of service, D. Strike that out. Unstrike that out. That's it.
Okay, I've got a amended motion to the amended motion.
Try to make it interesting.
I got a motion. Do I have a second? There being no motion, no second, that
Michael,
motion does not carry.
did you second? No. Oh, I'm sorry.
There's no second.
Come on.
Okay. Anything else? Chase Malonzo.
Are we still waiting on Mr. Robert's motion? Or
No,
did
it didn't get a second, so
Okay.
it didn't carry.
No, I'm gonna try not to be too long-winded. I'm gonna just piggyback off Ms. Casso real quick. I think her and I are about 70% happy with where we ended, and we agreed that's a pretty good landing spot. It was very important for me to protect family partitions. It was very important for her constituents to be able to build in Dutchtown area. I think we have a good compromise. We, with our 20-foot roads, and we're soon to be, the parish will be executing our own traffic impact analysis and many other ordinances. So Terry and I spent a lot of time this week together. I appreciate it, and especially staff over there. I think Mr. Drone and Chereau and Compton are tired of talking to us. So
That was a long time ago.
yeah, well, they've been tired, but no, man, the last 11 months have been stressful for us all. I think we improved dramatically. It's going to give us an opportunity. All of this is living, breathing documents. We can always revisit. So with that, I do second Ms. Casso's amendment.
Okay, so the first vote we have is on the amendment. Is there any objection? There being none, that carries. Second vote is to adopt the ordinance as amended.
Motion to adopt the
Motion to adopt the ordinance addended by Chase, second by Terry. Is there any objection to that motion? There being none, that motion carries. Item G, reading of an ordinance to extend the moratorium only.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good job. Item G, reading of an ordinance to extend the moratorium only on development that produces more than 40 peak trips until June 30th, 2022. Kenneth, would you please read it?
Purpose, to adopt a temporary moratorium on the east bank of the parish.
He's got to read it?
He's got to read it.
Okay.
Has to read it? Yes.
East bank of the parish regarding only developments producing more than 40 peak hour trips, whereas the population of the parish of Ascension continues to increase and due to past weather events and cause local flooding risking the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. And whereas a temporary moratorium was adopted on June 17, 2021 on any future subdivision of property to include all subdivisions of land that had not been submitted to the planning department as of June 17, 2021 to the end of May 31st, 2022. And whereas the governing authority wishes to extend the date through June 30, 2022 to include only proposed developments that produce more than 40 peak hour trips per the current ITE manual common trip generation rates. Now therefore be it ordained by the Ascension Parish governing authority, the moratorium on proposed developments that generate more than 40 peak hour trips will become effective immediately and expire on June 30th, 2022, or when the traffic impact analysis ordinance revision is adopted, whichever is sooner effective date. This ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
Motion by Councilman
Second.
Mason, second by Councilwoman Cazzo to open the public hearing. Motion to close by Councilman Robert,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Cazzo.
Motion to move the ordinance. Oh, that's
No-
right, I'm sorry.
No motion.
That one's over. We need a,
There's no motion to move the ordinance, so the motion fails.
forgive me.
Motion by Councilman Robert to adjourn, second by Councilman Wagasback. We are adjourned. Thank you.